Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey. And you know that we have a military member on today because he is my first interview, the earliest time slot I had. So, still a Marine at heart, as always. I didn't shave today, so you can tell that I'm no longer in the service, but he looks like he got a nice clean shave going on. So, the difference between Marines and Navy members, I suppose. But ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Mr. Richard Walsh. And not only will his links be in the description below, but for this particular episode, there'll also be a link to his interview on refuge freedom stories. Johnny T, who hosts that show, is like my adopted father, more so grandfather. Don't tell him I said that because he's old, but he's a great guy. And I actually listened to that interview with Mr. Walsh because I follow the show. And just for those of you who want a more faith-based episode with Mr. Walsh and his relationship with God and that advice, that link's going to be there for you because we're going to be in a bit of a different direction, though. I'm sure Mr. Walsh and I would definitely talk about God and what he has done for us in our lives. But without further ado, Mr. Walsh, would you tell us a little bit about yourself, including the big question, of course, when and why did you join the Marines?
Awesome. Mr. Whiskey, thank you for having me on, man. This is great. And it's okay if you're just Navy. Someone had to do it. Okay. No, it can't be Marines. Yeah, so let's go back a bit. So got out of the Marine Corps in 87. So I went in 83, 87. Good experience. Not a lot going on in the world per se, right? Not like the last 20 plus, right? Probably when you
Yeah.
served. So a little bit different. Got out, started working, just had to get a job. I'm swinging a pickaxe. I'm digging a trench down in Tucson. Very exciting. $5 an hour. Just killing it. Making a ton of dough. Trying to get the next Friday every week. But I got a side gig on someone asked me to do a side gig. It's like, hey, I got all this granite. Can you shovel it, put it in the backyard? And I said, sure. And it's like 35 tons. So I spent my last 85 bucks before payday to buy a wheelbarrow and a shovel, shoveled this thing, got it all in the back on the Saturday, did it. The beautiful thing, he put $1,000 in my hand for doing that job, right? And I'm
Wow.
thinking, well, dang, I did this yesterday for 50 bucks. So I'm like, I kind
Yeah.
of he decided my future. That guy decided my future. So from
Right.
there on, I'm going to be a landscaper. I'm going to do that. Got into custom water features, became nationally recognized, scaled all that. It was really great. Killed it. Started doing steel sculpture, and that became internationally recognized on that too. Doing world class exhibits. And 08, 09 came, and kind of the economy really kind of crashed, and it kind of did it. It took out my business. Okay, so I lost my business, my home. I had 6 little kids at the time, 4 years and younger. So it's a little bit challenging. And the reason it really collapsed was because a lot of things I didn't do in my business to make sure I could weather something like that. So I take total ownership on that. It really wasn't the economy per se. It just exposed the final weaknesses, right? Finally, the house of cards came down, if you will. I had to reinvent myself. I wasn't going to do what I did. Started again, scaled the new business, 2 businesses, started helping other entrepreneurs. They started asking me how I did it. So I kind of began mentoring, and then that turned into coaching, and that turned into writing a best-selling book called Escape the Owner Prison. I did that, and then continued the coaching program, and that is the really short version of where we're at
Yeah,
today.
yeah, for sure.
So that kind of gets us there. It should give us something to run with.
Yeah, based on the episode I listened to, I know there's a lot of strategy and tactics in there as well. So
Yeah.
what I had to ask, because as I was reading through your bio, I started doing some math. And so this is a more personal question for you, Mr. Walsh, but 6 kids under the age of 4 years old. And I was
Mhm.
trying to do the math and I was like, well, wait a minute. If you had 6 kids, each individually from the same woman, they would have to be 6 at the youngest. So are there twins? Are there stepkids? I'm just curious because I was trying to do
Um,
the math.
okay, I'll show you how the math works. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm married. I got married when I was 34. Okay, so a little late. Not late, I
For a
guess.
Marine, that's
Older.
30 years
Yes.
late. Yeah,
That's right.
or
That's right.
20 years late.
That's
But
right. So I got married then. We were married 5 years, struggling having kids. My wife
right.
loves kids, wanted lots of kids. And that was a prerequisite before I got married.
Mm,
I want children, lots of children. I go, I like children. It's okay. So
awesome. Yeah.
anything to close the deal, you know. So so we
Yeah.
got 5 years now. We're like, well, we're kind of struggling. Hey, let's go in the foster care program. Maybe we can
Okay.
get an infant. Maybe we have an opportunity to adopt something like that. So like, let's do that. So we took all the classes and did it, which is a lot, man. The foster they put you through the ringer. I mean, it's 40
Okay.
hours of classes. You got to do a background checks better than the Corps. Like, I mean, it was like I was going for a super top secret clearance.
Huh. So
They're
just have
telling,
kids naturally if you want to get away with whatever you need to get away
right,
with.
right. I'm like, wow, man, like I forgot I even did that. They're telling me stuff I did in my life. Like I did that. Oh yeah, I remember that, So, well, we just got to check. I'm like, holy cow. So it was kind of wild. So like, okay, so now 6 months goes by after the classes and nothing's happening. Then we get a phone call. My wife calls me one day. She says, hey, they're bringing a baby over, be here in 45 minutes. I'm like, oh, I'll get home. So I came home and they knock on the door and literally little D'Angelo, they gave us, here's a baby, a little seat and a little blanket, a little bag of stuff, and have a nice day. And that
Wow.
was, I mean, literally was like 5 minutes.
Stork drop off. Yeah.
I'm telling you. And so I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. So that was neat. And then we did in vitro right away. My wife had a
Yeah.
baby girl like 9 months later. Okay. Well, we brought her home from the hospital and the phone rings and it's the agency says, hey, the mother of D'Angelo, our first one, just had a baby boy. He's like too much premature, but he's ready to go. I'm like, oh, we'll take him. So poof, now we got another baby, right? And then we do in vitro again right away. My wife has twin boys.
Okay.
Okay. So now we got twin boys. And then the phone rings again.
No
Mother
way.
of the mother of the two had had a baby girl, and she was pretty messed up in a lot of ways from drugs and crime and prostitution,
Yeah.
all this stuff. But she took these babies to term, which is the greatest thing ever. So this little baby, boop, we take her. So now we have six in like 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So you can imagine, yeah, what ensued from that point. It was interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely a chaos. A beautiful story though. Now, Mr.
Yes.
Walsh, one thing you talked about that I want to, focus on here is when it comes to transitioning out of the military, a lot of military members get the realization that their specific skills from the military don't really transfer over in the military. I got a guy coming on to talk about how he was this awesome radio man on a submarine and then was not a radio man on a submarine in the civilian world. And I think Marines seem to have it the most difficult, if I'm being honest, based from talking to other members. A lot of, Navy and Air Force, you get a lot more tech skills. A lot of Marines, especially frontline going out there, the skill set is a bit more limited. Y'all have better discipline and work ethic and all of that. But as far as transferable skills, you talked about you were swinging a pickaxe and
Mhm.
moving a shovel around. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition and just kind of was that a shock for you when you got out? You thought you were just gonna be get job offers left and right, or how did it work for you?
No, I didn't think I was going to get a job offer left and right. What I thought was what happens when you get in the Marine Corps, and my son is in now. Been in almost a year, right? He's in E3 now, so that's really cool. But
Awesome.
you get this you developed a way of living, right? You talk about discipline, structure. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of that in the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Then you come out and like the first person you tell them what to do, they give you the big high five, if you will, right? Until you leave me alone. You're like, I'm gonna put you in the dirt. You didn't talk to me that way. Well, it's a
Yeah.
very different world. So the transition really is adapting to civilian behavior. That
Mm.
was that was more difficult than like I was a Stinger gunner. Okay, I shot down jets with a shoulder
Yeah.
fired heat-seeking intercept missile. I knew there was going to be no call for that in the civilian world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well that's okay. So I'm just going to work. But what I had, well, and I want to encourage guys too, if they're getting out in any branch, right? You have structure, you have discipline. You can follow orders, which is important, and you can probably give orders, right? You know how to lead at some level.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the military. And you understand that, right? You understand rank, you understand the chain of command. So you have a really good understanding how things should operate. Now, I'm not saying the military does everything perfect, right?
Yeah.
We could spend a whole show on that. But
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying that like that coming out for me, and I just had like, well, I'm just going to work because I know how to work. You have the discipline to show up. And again, I'm an early riser. I'm still today. I'm 4 a.m.
Yeah.
riser every day. And that's why I'm here early. But so my transition was just what am I going to do? Because you don't know. And that is a problem for a lot of guys. But I
Yeah.
will encourage you the best thing to do. I'm swinging a pick. Okay. Not the greatest thing. I'm working at a bar at night as a doorman. Okay. So I'm doing multiple jobs trying to make something happen until I could figure things out. So I encourage guys that you got to work. It doesn't matter what you do because the idleness, that's what's going to kill you
Mm,
because you're going to sit in your own, you're going to stew in your own. What can I do? What
yeah,
am I going to do? But there's a ton of opportunity out there, even more so now because
for
20 years of
sure.
war, 20 years of war, and everyone's helping, and there's a lot of recruitment. There's guys who specifically spend time in that and they help guys. I do it as well. So there's opportunity if you can find the right place now. Back in the day, 80s, there's no internet, there's no anything. You didn't connect with anyone. I had to like meet people, like give me a job. Like it was literally like knocking on doors and stuff to get stuff.
Wow,
Now it's just a search and you can find things. So as hard as it may seem, it's really easier. It really, I mean, you have opportunity like a world full, literally a world full at your fingertips. So
for
you can find
sure.
something, but definitely just get to work. Do not spend any time sitting around stewing in like, where am I going? Just go do something. Then other doors will open.
Yeah, it's actually interesting what you said there because nowadays they actually reach out to you. They're actually looking for military candidates and they reach out to you on LinkedIn or Indeed or wherever. So it's interesting how it's flip-flopped from, you know, future employees needing the employers to employers needing the employees. And I actually had an episode about that. Y'all can check it out, leading with values in the workplace. And one of the things we discussed is how with the internet and remote work specifically blossoming after COVID, how employers are now more than ever having to be more lenient with employees because of how many opportunities there are for remote work and how much more, attractive remote work is to a lot of people. One thing you mentioned is work ethic and you have to work for it. And, I had someone on my show say, well, it's not that military members have better work ethic. It's just that they're used to a more harsh work environment. And so by comparison, the civilian environment is easier. It's like the military is you're training with a weighted vest on and then you take it off in the civilian world. So an interesting concept, but like you said, you had that discipline, that structure, that work ethic. And you talk about people getting out and being idle. And I think I can understand that mindset because I think a lot of people they get out of the service and they're like, all right, time to take a break. I just got done doing all these orders and doing this and that. And I do think it's good to have a little rest period, but just like with any schooling or any work, you don't want to exceed a year, which really I don't think you should
Mm-hmm.
even take a year. They call it the gap year, but you mentioned idleness, and then there's that famous quote, idle mind is the devil's workshop. It really is. Now, I know a lot of veterans who, people who recently get out of the military, they get this grand idea, we're going to start a business. We're going to be a veteran-owned business, and so everyone's going to shop there because it's owned by veterans, and we're going to blow up on the internet, and we're going to sell a bunch of t-shirts or whatever it is. Now, Mr. Walsh, you help entrepreneurs and people start businesses. So, what advice would you give all these, young active duty guys and gals who are getting out thinking they're going to just instantly start a business and it's going to be huge? There are a lot of benefits available for veterans to help them starting a business, but they're only as good as you taking advantage of them and putting them into play properly. So, you tell us how they can sharpen their spears, so to speak?
Yeah, so I kind of work with startups. I help them a lot. I'm limited what I can do with startups, but I love them. And veterans want to come out and do a business. There's a lot of people who do it now. Here's the difference. The only difference between a veteran and a civilian starting a business is there isn't any. There isn't any difference. Okay. You're all going to have the same issues, right? You're
Yeah,
all going to try to get capitalized. You're going to try to create a product or a service and get it to market. Yeah, everyone wants to be Black Rifle Coffee, right? Everyone wants that. Okay. They want to be TRX. Okay. They want those guys like these guys. But, and I'm not going to say they're anomalies, but you don't know the story and what they went through. Everyone's, today, most people only see success. That's what
yeah,
they see. They don't see the 5 years, the 10 years of trying to get things done. The road to get where you, all of a sudden people know you or you become a household name. Like we get to mention
right.
these guys, right? Like that isn't overnight. Okay. That's struggling. If you sat down with those guys and talked, you'd be like, you probably wouldn't even want to start a business.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can be, it can be rough, but there is a path to go. And it really comes down to coaching. something I didn't have when I started because there wasn't any. Very, very few. There's mentors, real high-end stuff you couldn't afford as a
Yeah,
startup. So you need to find people who have been there because you're going to go through a lot of steps from ideation, right? Oh, I have an idea. Well, that's great. Let me see the napkin, that you wrote your idea on. Like that's literally where it starts. And that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that. But now, okay, let's now next step, next step, next. And I take people through this, right? I just did a lunch and learn the other day. Same thing, 1 hour. And it's like almost like fire hosing, right? It's a lot of information,
for
like
sure.
this. You got a lot to get done just to try to sell. But I think what happens is a lot of people, they go what would be the word? A little too structured. Like they go and they like get some college will tell them what to, oh, you need accounting, you need this and this, all this stuff that will demoralize you like no one's business. It's all stuff that
Mm.
doesn't matter when you're starting. It matters. Okay. But it's also stuff you can hire out. It's not, it's, you can't, you got to focus on getting your product off the launch pad. Like you
Yeah.
got to sell. Like you got to get this, and people have to, you got to go see if people can actually care about what you have. They'll give you money for it. And as I tell them, not friends and family, they don't count. Don't
Yeah,
ask them
yeah.
if this is a good idea or a bad idea because they're completely biased and they're not going to help you at all. And they'll probably discourage you. You have to go out to complete strangers and sell your product or service, no matter how well it's developed. Do not just go. I call it ignorance on fire.
Mm.
You need to just think like it doesn't matter. You got an idea, you got a mower, you're going to cut grass, you have a product you're going to build online, whatever that is, you want to sell t-shirts, whatever that is, see if anyone will give you money for it. Because you know what the difference between a professional and amateur is? A pro gets paid.
Mm.
Okay, an amateur
Yeah,
doesn't. So become a pro, make
yeah.
some money. That's where you have to be. That's how you truly decide if your product or service is valuable. Are people giving you money for it? Right. So, but if you go the wrong direction, you're going for this education, and I'm not going to like beat up education. We're just saying they haven't done it. They teach
Mm.
it, and what they're going to teach is things that are structured and this, and that's not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is ignorance on fire. It's running hard, making it, creating it, making all kinds of mistakes, probably losing some money, right? You got to get scars. You got to get beat up. You got to get punched in the face. It's just that's why I can't on a high end coach startups because they haven't been punched in the face. They
Mm.
can't value what I offer. Right
Yeah.
now, as a boxer, I've been punched in the face a lot. I got all artificial parts in my face. Right. So, but I've taken those scars. You can work it. So, what I would encourage them for is to take the idea and create the process. Like, what does this actually look like? And we do help them. I actually have a startup coaching. It's called startupcoachingcall.com. It's for startups. It's a weekly live coaching call where they can get on, listen, and ask questions and get things answered. It'll move them forward really, really quickly. And I just came up with this recently because I just felt bad for startups. Like I work with all these businesses and help them, but I can't help them, but I have to do something
Yeah.
because I want to compress time for them to help them kind of minimize those mistakes. Like you can leapfrog a lot of stuff if you're talking to the right people. They can save you a lot of time and money, and bad decisions, making bad decisions. So did I answer the question?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think you hit on a lot of good points. The main message being there's a now more than ever there are so many resources, coaches of all kinds. Like you said,
Mhm.
they didn't really have that, and now they've got you can find a coach for pretty much any aspect. I know there are dating coaches, life coaches, podcast coaches, business coaches. There's a lot more affordable options, a lot of different experiences and different coaches who had just maybe have something that's more aligned with your business compared to in the past. It was I mean, not one coach fits all
No.
people. So it's about finding who you connect with and also just like there's so many podcasts out there giving out great information about businesses and everything like that. Now, Mr. Walsh, what I want to kind of go back to is 2008, 2009. You talked about kind of losing everything due to America's great economy just doing what it does, which is randomly or not so
Yeah.
randomly just going down for quite a while. I know earlier you mentioned you were working for $5 an hour. I was like, I couldn't buy groceries off of that. let alone pay rent nowadays. Rent is like 2 grand for a single bedroom. So yeah for the economy. But
Yeah.
that being said, you talk about losing everything. So kind of just what you went through when that happened and what really helped get you out of that dark, miry pit.
Yeah. So for me, my business was everything. It was my identity, right? That's
Mm,
really, if I wasn't that, if I wasn't Rick Rock, I didn't exist.
yeah.
Always had the shirt on, always had the hat on. Trucks are wrapped, cars are wrapped, everything is, it's all about me.
Yeah.
It truly was like me winning, getting the next award, building the great stuff. No one can do what I do. It was all this just inflamed ego. I wouldn't call it arrogance, but I would call it, I was ego driven.
Mm,
It was all about just satisfying someone. And I realized this, I actually learned this on being a guest on a podcast. I gave this, like, you think I would have figured this out a long time ago, but I'm like a words of affirmation guy, right? That's the love language. I'm air quoting.
okay.
And I realized, like, that's why I did everything I did, was to do the next great thing so people could tell me I'm great.
Mm,
That literally was like what drove me.
yeah.
And I outdid everybody, even if it meant losing money. Like, it was
Mm,
all about just that pat on the back.
okay.
So driving and getting recognized and being on this committee, and the mayor of Chicago now hand picks me and does this stuff, and keep going. And
Yeah.
now I built a world-class exhibit, and they did a documentary on me. I'm like, all this stuff, right? All about me. Everything was about me. So everything was driven in the identity. And when 0809 came, and it was November 5th of 2008, the day after the election, I lost $500,000 in a day. People just canceling. I'm like, oh, and it just kept going off that cliff. I'm like, there's no way we're going to make it. I mean, I'm a luxury item. Obviously, people don't have to have a water feature in their backyard, and no one was spending money then. I
Yeah.
mean, it just constricted, like it was like the anaconda. I mean, it was just, and there was nothing. And I'm like, wow. And I'm trying to limp through, and it really makes you think, right? You're going, okay, 6 small children, wife, a
Right.
home. I'm going to lose my home, because other dumb things I did. So I'm losing the home. Don't have a. I'm like, wow. And I'm laying there in bed one day, and I really had the epiphany of, I started thinking about my kids, and I'm like, wow. I come home at night, whatever it is, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever. I'm working these long hours. They run, they attack you. I mean, they're little kids. They love you, right? They just want to be with you. They do all that stuff. Great. One day I'm leaving, driving down the driveway out in my truck. One of my sons has chased me down the driveway crying, and I'm looking at this in the rearview mirror as they get even smaller, because I'm going to work, right? I have a business. I have to do
Yeah.
this. It's all about me. And I started realizing they're just laying there going, if I stay on this path where business is first, it's everything. Like, sacrifice everything,
For sure.
everything for business. My kids are going to grow up and they're going to have failed marriages, broken relationships. They might be good at business, but
Yeah.
everything else in their life is going to be trashed because they only know what they see. Okay. The example is fathers, especially, is more is caught than taught. That's the saying, right? So you can tell your kids all the right things, but if you aren't congruent, if you aren't doing it, they'll only do what they see.
Right.
And that might be at 30 years old.
Yeah.
Things get tight, everything else, they're going to do what dad did. They might start that business. They might run it that way. They'll keep coming to me for advice, and I'll be giving them the wrong advice.
Mm,
I'll be just telling them how to succeed in business. So for me, that was, I got out of bed and I went and I shut down the business. Went in the office, told my office, we're done today. Told my guys at the yard, my guys, I'm like, we're wrapping this up this week. We'll be finished by Friday. These guys have been with me over 10 years. Same guys, but we're like family, but I couldn't do it. I'm like, that was the moment that just changed everything. I literally burned all my uniforms, my record. I realized my identity was that. And I had video, like, on the bonfire, throwing the brand new shirts on the fire. I'm burning all the clothes. I'm like, I sold all my equipment. I haven't welded. I haven't built a water feature since then. Okay. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wasn't going to do that because that lure, what that had done to me, and everyone's got like vices and stuff like that, right? I didn't have like anything except business. That was my vice. That was my mistress, if you will, right? I'm drawn
yeah.
to that and do this. And same thing with spending money. Like, I'm not gambling. I'm not doing this. I don't even watch sports, right? But I like to buy equipment. Okay. Ooh,
Huh.
skid steer. That's only
Yeah,
50,000. I'll pay
I
cash,
get that.
Oh, I want to build this, right? So I like stuff like that. So that was to me, that was investing in myself, in my business. You can justify anything, right? So
Oh
did I
yeah.
need to spend $55,000 on a skid steer, or could I have rented it for the season for 1,000 a month and then had an extra $45,000 to invest? Yeah, probably could have gone that way. Well, nope, I got cash. I'm paying cash. I had a lot of cash, so it was just money. I got paid a ton of money for what I did, so I could generate income. But then again, then it's all taken away from you, and now you're at the bottom. And for me, like with God, it's like He does a lot of good work when you're at the bottom.
Yeah, that's for
Like He
sure.
just lets you kind of, yeah, keep digging that hole. Eventually you're going to hit something you can't dig through. And sure enough, so I had to really look at it. And the difficulty was, what do you do?
Right.
Where do you go? I can't live here. So I changed states. We moved and kind of got a place, started over, didn't know what I was going to do, had no clue. Right. So I'm just saying, well, what would I like to do? That's kind of where I started. So this is kind of
Okay.
like, if you talk about the veterans too getting out, you should think like, well, what would I like to do?
Right.
Like if I could actually choose, and like what would I like to do? It doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it right then,
Oh yeah, for
but
sure.
it can start a path. It can be on the side while you're doing that crappy job, swinging a pick or whatever, right? But you can have the dream and start working towards that in the other time, right? So I did that. I want to train people. I'm a fitness guy. I train guys. I get them going in the military. I do all this stuff. I'm a boxer. I'm a black belt. I do all this cool stuff. So I'll get back to training. I mean, I got a personal trainer certification in like 93. I was one of the first people, like when they came out with them, so I built programs and I did all this stuff. So I just went to an Anytime Fitness. And they had like, they had a program like subs that worked there, like a little subcontractor thing, but they didn't have one of that one. So I came in, I'll do it. And I blew it up like in the Anytime. Next thing you know, I'm trainer of the year. Okay. And I'm
Awesome.
like, oh, cool. So you know what that means to an entrepreneur.
Oh,
I got to go open a gym,
who loves
right?
words of affirmation? Yeah,
That's
of
right.
course.
That's right. So I'm gonna go open my own gym. So I did Bootcamp-Style training, created like a body weight. It was all body weight basically, and I created like a belt system progression. So you like
Hmm.
test it out in phases, and get better and better. So I created this whole thing. That was really great. Had that. So yeah, that's kind of that was the first thing from the just doing something. Again, I wasn't making a ton of money as a personal trainer. I did okay, but then the gym. Now I'm back in business, right? So that was kind of the transition, and that went into a contracting business, roofing,
Right.
siding, windows, and I built and scaled that, and then again started helping people. So that big transition from 0809, it was challenging, but I have kind of a thing in my brain where I'm the eternal optimist. Like stuff does not I don't suffer from depression. I think it's called neural normal. I think I interviewed a guy about suicide and I'm talking like these thoughts have never entered me. Well, he goes, "You're neural normal." I'm like,
Well,
okay.
that's interesting.
Yeah. So it's like I can't, I don't know. I'm not like, I just like can't be defeated. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't, I don't know how to explain it. This is like the first time I
Immune to
thought about it.
pain almost.
Yeah.
Doesn't
It's
mean you don't
like,
get hurt. You're just immune to pain.
yeah, I think I realized, and a lot of talking about this stuff on different shows and everything. I'm like, wow, I really embrace suffering. I really embrace it. I think it's like, it's part of who I am. That ability to
Yeah.
suffer every day in the gym when I work out. I mean, I'm battling an opponent. I'm
Right.
crushing that thing. It's not a heavy bag, it's an opponent. And I treat it like that,
Mm.
and I just have this mentality to, just put myself through stuff. I don't know. It's odd. Can you help me?
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to talking about making water features and steel sculpting. And we didn't really address that. So you're talking about this business that you lost. And can we actually talk about what the business was, especially since it
Sure.
played such an important role in your identity, which I think is very relatable to the military as well. And actually, for me, I'm still working on, I got out of the military, did some blue collar stuff, was like, why did I get out of the military just to do 12-hour rotating blue collar stuff?
Right.
Like, so it wasn't swinging a pickaxe necessarily, but it was pipe wrench. So, paid more than $5 an hour though. It was
Yeah.
like $22 an hour, so better. That being said, afterward I became Mr. Whiskey with the whole, podcasting and stuff. And it's like when I wasn't Mr. Whiskey, I was no one. So your story was actually very relatable to me in that, and I've, demerged my business and personal life, but also merged them as well in a way that both have value. Not placing all my value in my work. But that being said, you talked about water features, expensive luxury items, and steel sculpting. So what exactly are you making for your clients, or you were at that time? What were you making?
So when you say a water feature, like that was my thing. So it's I had the fancy name, architectural water environments. Ooh, which no one knew what that was. So it wasn't a super great
Oh yeah,
marketing
you're an
thing, but it was cool.
architectural water environment engineer.
That's right.
It's
All
like,
that, all that. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I started doing water features. So I started actually making artificial stone, like you see at the zoos, the
Okay.
goats are climbing and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
started doing that and like putting water on that. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, concrete and everything else, super labor intense, right? So it's just I'm like, yeah, this, I can't scale this. It's too slow, too much work,
Right.
and it's not real. So I'm high quality. I'm a super high quality guy. Like when I mean the best, I mean no one can touch the look of it, the functionality of it,
Right.
nothing. Like
A bit of perfectionism in you. I
a
I,
little
I,
bit,
I
yeah, a
get
little
that.
bit,
Yeah.
a little bit. But I know we'll talk about the art too and how it fixed that. But so I'd start building that in a small water feature and a waterfall. Oh, people love the sound. It looks beautiful. I'll make a little bigger one. I'll get the next one. I started researching boulders, different rocks, started bringing stuff in from around the
Oh,
world,
okay.
around the country, like truckloads, right? At one point I was doing about 1,500 tons a year of boulders.
Wow.
That's a lot of rock, and these are specialty rocks. This isn't like some ugly round granite boulder. These are stuff. This is trap rock from Missouri. This is stuff, picture rock from Utah. I'm bringing stuff in all over the place. I'm really
Right.
creating this stuff. So my goal was to, when I'm finished with my water feature, which is in the backyard, right?
Yeah.
It looks like it was there before the house. That's the
Mm,
goal. Like
right.
someone saw this beautiful water feature and put their house by it because it's so cool. That
Okay.
was my goal, right? And that is what I achieved. I mean, so regardless of what I charged, and I end up charging a lot, every single customer, not one customer over 1,000 water features I built, ever said they paid too much. They all said, you need to charge more, no matter what the price was. I mean, that was the outcome I wanted, right? And
Right.
talk about words of affirmation. Those are words of affirmation to me. It's
For
like,
sure.
I'm just going to knock everyone out. You're going to have this thing. And what happened with that, as it's growing and building, okay, I'm the artist. I'm doing a lot of the placement, the rock placement. We have gradles with fixed crapples. I'm doing also, so also I'm a builder, right? Meaning that I like to scale a business and build businesses.
Yeah.
So at the same time, everyone's doing all this stuff by hand. Guys are hand digging these ponds. Now, I'm a guy with a pickaxe, could throw it 8 hours a day,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But I'm like, this doesn't work either. So I got mini excavators that we could get into the backyard, 40 inches wide. Now we're digging the pond in an hour. All the guys are taking all day.
Right.
Now I'm placing large boulders, 2,000-pound boulders, 3,000. I'm bringing that and putting it in. I'm doing that. I'm putting 150 tons of boulders in water feature in like a day. It takes other companies 30 days to do the same thing. So I decided, well, we were going to be the special forces of pond building. I got three guys.
Yeah.
We go in with the right equipment and we create magic. And what we can do in 1 or 2 days. I had a client, I built a thing on an island. I brought in a 170-ton crane to swing a 28,000-pound great all out onto this island. Okay, that's on this Twigger Lake. So we could build a waterfall, which we did in like half a day. Placed all the
This
bullets,
is
swung them off
amazing.
there, swung them to the next island because it's a series of islands. I made steel bridges, okay, to drive out onto it, then become footbridges too. Did a series of three, and we're just plicking. It was $30,000 to build a road to the back for the crane because we had to, put in 6-inch stone and just it was that's the crazy that I am. I'm going to do what no one else can do, And remember the owner, big hitters, of course, right? There's something allowed to do it. He's looking at,
Yeah.
we're looking at the beautiful water feature, off this thing. He's having all this other landscaping done by another company. And he goes, I got to tell you, like, you made this look like a weekend project, what you did here. This is, and these guys, they spend 4 hours talking to me what flower they're going to plant. I go, yeah, we're all about getting it done. He goes, this is, and he was a cool guy, but yeah, we did some pretty amazing stuff. But just that was my attitude, right? In building water features. Like, I will do what no one else can do. They wouldn't even attempt it, and I'll pull it off. I did another one. I almost like reverse physics. I did stuff that like finest things ever. I'm like, I can do that. And I build this stuff. And so it's a real motivator, right? You can kind of get how I just want people to say, I can't do it. Just tell me this can't be done. And like, turn me loose and
Yeah.
get your checkbook out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
For
going to have some
sure.
fun, but it's going to cost you. But they have one of a kind. I
That's
had a
for sure.
guy the other day call me, and I built his water feature like 17 years ago. He goes, oh, I'm glad I could get a hold of you. He found me because I have my site up for pictures and stuff still, And he goes, I think our thing's leaking a little bit after like 18 years. Can you
Yeah.
come out and fix it? I'm like, I don't do this stuff anymore. I said, here, let's do this. Let's do FaceTime. I'll tell you exactly where it's leaking because I had an idea. I think it's just when the water falls on. He goes, yeah, piece of cake. Go out there we're going to Facebook this or FaceTime this thing. I do it.
Yeah.
See right there, lift that up. Okay, find the line, take those rocks out there, pull that up. You're good to go. He goes, oh, wow. Yeah, no problem, man. Best luck to you. I like fix it over the phone, So we didn't have that technology back then either. So
Yeah.
it's just, but to me, you talk like it took 18 years till something went wrong. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to do that. Okay. Most people in the industry, when it became popular, their stuff was leaking like next day. Okay. So, I mean, like most people, I would give seminars trying to teach people to do it properly just so they don't ruin the industry. But yeah, I get it. So that was water features, man. And I started adding sculpture to that. So I'm like, I could use like a really cool sculpture, like natural, because I wanted to weld. So I taught myself how to weld and started doing all the sculpture stuff. And I'm making like cantilevered walk under waterfalls. I had a Navy pier and people bought him. I put in for a guy, he had a train, like, the trains you ride on,
For
like at
sure.
kiddie
Yeah.
parks. Well, he has a big tennis court and he has a train he put in that goes around it. Well, he saw this walk under waterfall and he wanted the train to go underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So poof, we did that. Right. And I've got that. So he's guys walk on the waterfall and you're riding on the train, and it's super cool. So yeah, we did a lot of fun stuff and just super creative because that was my outlet, right? I am a creative person. And then the steel sculpture water feature led into, people seeing the stuff together because no one could picture it. No one understood how the two can be combined.
Right.
And I did that. So yeah, it was fun.
And you actually answered another one of my questions in there, which was going to be, is there anywhere we can get pictures of this stuff just to see what you're talking about? You said you have a site still
Mhm.
up with all your prior features.
Yeah, you can go to rickrock.net. It's RIKROCK.net. And there's a few hundred pictures on there. You can see stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll
Funny stuff.
definitely add that to the description so people can check that out because I can picture what you're talking about. I've seen some of these, probably not to the scale of what you're doing. I've seen some small little features in some shore towns and such. Like you said, it's a luxury item, but it sounds amazing. And then I wanted to go back to you talked about opening up your own gym, starting quote unquote a boot camp for fitness with different phases.
Mhm.
Did you draw inspiration from your time in the Marines, from Marine boot camp? How did you set up this fitness program?
Yeah, so I've been training and I was really into body weight stuff since about '09. I really started getting into that big time, kind of getting myself back super fit because stressful business can make you forget about your health, you
Yeah,
know. And also I'm
yeah,
getting 3 meals from a window every day, and it's not a good life.
for
So
sure.
I started that. I'm like, okay, and I have all this experience and all the training and all the stuff I've done. So yeah, I'm like, well, let's do this. Let's create boot camp style training. Let's do 35-minute workouts. So I want people to come in for 35 minutes. I'm going to crush them. They won't be able to work 36 minutes. Okay. 35 minutes are going to be done because that's who
Yeah,
I am. Right. So I brought that in. I said, well, let's start. And I started just designing programs for every day. Like, here's what we'll do. And I said, Leah, I took the military thing and said, let's make little 4-person squads. So we have a team. Everyone who comes in, you got 20 people or 25, whatever it is. Okay. Everyone teams up with guys in their similar fitness level, right? So they can have a team and a squad. Everyone's working out at the same time, doing the same thing, but now you're actually competing. So I wanted to build, but I wanted them to test out, kind of like the belt system in martial arts. But I
Right.
wanted them to develop these fitness skills, whether it's walking lunges and pull-ups and all the cool stuff, right? So I built that like, okay, this should take you about a year and a half to get through to be a phase 4 guy and all this stuff. And it's super difficult. So that was kind of the catalyst for it. How do I do this? Now, I did learn something. Like everyone doesn't want to kill themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're looking cream of the crop kind of stuff, right? So you're not going to get them coming in being pushed. And I literally had a 3-foot riding crop, like for horses,
Yeah.
and that I walk with that. That's how I trained. I'm slapping my leg, I'm slapping the mat, I'm slapping their butt if their butt's up and the form's bad, right? I mean, I'm a nut job, right? But it's cool. But we're just a little negative reinforcement because that's the Marine Corps way. So we use that, but people loved it. But what I didn't realize was, and again, this is just a business point. Uh, I'm like, I only want people who want to train, right? Train hard. I'm pushing 40 people, 50 people, 60 people. But I wasn't realizing at the time because I was so into what I was doing and so happy that I'm doing 7 classes a day. And I got trainers and all this stuff. And we're blouse boots, man, black boots, black cargo pants, man, a black amblework shirt. I mean, we're the
Heck
hats,
yeah.
their name on it. It was, you came
Yeah.
in and it's basically an empty gym with pull-up bars, suspension trainers, carpet, mats. But you come and you go, pain. I sense pain. Okay, like
Yeah.
something terrible is going to happen because there's not, you don't see machines, you don't see barbell. It's like, yep, sandbags. That's all you're going to see, right? Like inner tube sandbags. Like we're doing stuff with that. So, but I didn't. I from a business standpoint, think of a big NFL football game, right? You got
Yeah.
what, maybe 100 players down on the field, total benches, everything, and how many people are in the stands? 50,000, eighty
Yeah.
thousand, right? Do they want to play football? No, they don't
No.
want to play football. They want to watch football. Well, that should be your mentality in the gym business. So if you got a lot of hard working out people just want to be around that because the energy is amazing, right? And so I built it so that they could work at their level, right? It's not like you fail, you just can't do as many push-ups, you just can't do as many pull-ups, you can't do this, the whole thing. You're like, you do what you can do. And that's how
Right.
we built it. So it was real effective that way. But I didn't encourage those people to come to my gym. You know what I mean? Because the gym model is get as many people as you can and pray that 80% never show up. That's the standard gym model. They bank on it because you couldn't fit all the cars in the parking lot,
Yeah.
right? So literally Bally's did that decades ago, but that's, hey, sell memberships like crazy. Everyone's got good intentions. Planet Fitness, $10 a month. You're never going to cancel because you're going to go to the gym. And it's only $10 a month. So you'll pay that $10 forever and never work out ever. So that's kind of the model and mindset. I didn't want to do that because I'm also charging a lot of money to be in it, but
Yeah.
I should have, right? So I had to learn that balance that like
Mm.
let these people in. They want to be around like high achievers. Who doesn't want to be around high achievers? Well, people who don't want to achieve high, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so it was awesome. It was really cool. And I wanted to, and I just had a really good time with that. I really learned how to let my trainers train. So I developed the programs. Here's what they are, and they could all do it. Really was able for me to remove myself from the business. That was my first step of realizing if my wife called me because we're homeschooling these 6 kids now, right? So we got all that going. They're going to start all
Yeah.
that.
That's a
If
lot.
she if she needs me to come home, I don't want to tell her I'll see you at 7 p.m. I'm like, well, I'll be there in 15 minutes because I'm 15 minutes away and I'm going to go home. So that was a big one of those things. Like, I didn't want to be a stay-at-home dad. I love business. I want to do that. But
Yeah.
if my wife needs me, I want to be able to be there for, right? That's the life. That's the margin I wanted to create. I want to have time margin in my life. So that enabled me to do that.
All I will say is if 80% of the Planet Fitness members are staying home, I need like 90, 95% to stay home because every time I go, there's too many people in my way. If I ever get to the point financially where I can make an at-home gym, it will be done because I like my privacy. I don't like other people.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. That's why I love running, cross-country running, because sure, you pass the occasional person and so howdy, how you doing, but for the
You're
most part, you're alone until the finish line.
you're the
Uh,
you're the you're the fitness introvert.
I am, and you know what? It's worked out where every time I'm at the gym and I'm about to get off a machine, someone comes over and they're like, "Can I get some reps in?" And then it's like, "Oh, I'm about to get off," but then they think that I'm only getting off because they came over. They always time it where it's just like this awkward moment of they feel like they're pushing me off the machine, and I'm trying to leave the machine, but they're trying to get me to stay on.
Let me give you a cool little story that happened last week.
For sure.
So I worked a heavy bag, right? So I do 3 minute rounds with a minute rest. Then I'll do about 10. Okay. And Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I hit the bag. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm skilled. Okay. And I've kept my skills sharp. Every punch
Champion
is
box.
as hard as I can throw it. Okay. And I'm rocking saying that I've been doing it for years. Right. So I'm in
Yeah.
there. So, but the Tuesday, Thursdays, I do 10 rounds of shadow boxing. So it's
Mm.
all footwork and I'm throwing like 350 punches around, but
Whew.
I'm moving, right? So I'm floating around. There's 2 bags. I'm working. I'll be hitting the bag, not hard, right? Because I don't have wraps, anything. I'm just bare knuckle and I'm working. I'm just moving and I'm lathered to my waist, okay, with sweat. So I'm finishing the 8th round. So I got an AirPod in, timer's going, right? And it gives me a 10-second warning when the round's going to be up. So I really unload last 30 seconds. So I'm doing that, getting done. So this big dude walks up and he's like standing there. And it's like standing like literally like almost on top of me, and I'm working the bag, and the bell goes off, which he can't hear, right? It's in my ear.
Yeah.
And I go, "What's up?" And he goes, "Dude, I mean, this is really cool. And this is really distracting." I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "So like, I mean, I can't even like." I go, "You can't what?" He goes, "Well, can you just take it down? Can you be quiet? You make a lot of noise and stuff like that." I go, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that at all." And he's standing there looking at me. He goes, "What is this, your personal gym?" I go, "Is it yours?" And I go, "Dude," he goes, "I'm like weeks, man. You've been doing this for weeks." I go, "No, I've been a member here since 2016, brother. You've been here for weeks.
Oh
I've been here for
boy.
years." Okay.
Yeah.
And guess what? You get the crown of the first person ever to say something to me about it. And all these years, I'm here at 5:30 in the morning doing this, right? So we kind of had a few other words. I really took a couple deep breaths,
I'm
let him
on your
go.
side. I'm on
And
your side. So
and I'm like, "Dude, I'm gonna finish. I got some rope to do." So I got a couple rounds of rope I had to do, after that jump rope. So he went away and whatever, the whole thing. I'm like, and I'm just gonna go here. What a weak-minded individual.
yeah.
You are like 6'3", you're like 240, all this stuff, and I'm interrupting your TV show on the treadmill. Like, really, dude?
Yeah.
Like you're walking. Like, why don't you go back with the ladies and do the elliptical? Okay. Like I'm looking at him and go, I like to chop down big trees. I will. I'm just sorry I'm getting
Yeah.
worked up. But yeah, you get that. So there's someone from a mindset like you're distracted. I wanted to tell him, here's how you do it. Think about your heart rate. Focus on it. Your breathing. Put that treadmill up to 12. Okay. Go 10 miles an hour at an incline. Start pushing. Think it. See how hard you're breathing, how hard you're working. Go make some progress. Don't
Yeah.
come here and walk on the treadmill. It's beautiful out. It's 75 degrees outside. It's sunny. It's 6 in the morning. Go outside and walk. What are you doing? You're watching TV, dude. I'm like,
No,
it just tells you everything for me. But I'm kind of,
no, I agree. Well, the crazy part is out of everyone in the gym, a guy throwing 350 punches at the bag. That's the last guy I'm gonna approach.
right.
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
that's the last guy I want
yeah,
to tell he's being too loud.
yeah, dude. Yeah, I am working,
Dripping
man.
with sweat, throwing
He,
punches, throwing kicks. I'm like, that's the last guy I need to be interrupting.
he's like, "Oh, I mean, you're being all Jackie Chan and everything." I'm looking like, oh, no, you want to go there. But dude, I've got to do my rope because I'm gonna lose my membership.
Yeah, no,
And I like
honestly,
it here.
I had my buddy who's been on the show. We call him Big Red. He's in the military still, and he he used to be a wrestler, and his coach actually encouraged him to scream, to be loud because it boosted their morale. And I
Oh,
remember he went to the military gym with me one time or whatever, and no yelling. There's signs, no yelling, no
yeah.
throwing the weights, and he's like, "What? We're the military. This should be like the one place in the gym you're allowed to scream. You're
Right.
you're going crazy." And there's a lot of old vets at the Planet Fitnesses around here who they're always the loudest guys too,
Yeah.
but they're the guys I wouldn't mess with.
Right.
They're in their 40s and 50s and their arms are just, massive,
Yeah.
and they're working out lifting heavy weights. I'm like,
It's funny because there are a bunch of older guys, older, like 60s, 70s,
oh
walking on the
yeah.
treadmills every morning. They're there all the time. They watch me every day. They like love it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
guys, there's the track goes when they walk. I'm in the corner and the indoor track goes around. People just I'm like wallpaper now. They're just used to it, but they
Yeah.
love it. My kids would be there working out, right? And they're like, damn, like people are videotaping you. I go, well, that's their prerogative, but they're like, no
There's that
one's
words of
seen.
affirmation and ego right there.
I'm telling you, man, it's the energy. I need the energy, but they haven't seen people work out like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm older. I'm older, right?
Yeah,
But to see a guy
38.
like me,
So,
yeah, I'm 30. Yeah, that's me. But I'm like, to see someone work out like that, I mean, every day, 10 rounds, 1 minute breaks, everything's by time, all the stuff I do, then I go do all the core work and I'm doing core work that no one does. I'm like, so to me, hopefully I'm inspiring people. The good news is no one talks to me except that goof. That's the
yeah.
only go for me. I'll know guys, they'll say something if I'm down, on the lobby or whatever, you'll say something. But we all get the head nod. They'll walk around, they'll see
Yeah.
him. I give them
Yeah.
that, and they all know and everything's cool, man. They like it. Like, who doesn't want to be my friend?
Well, this whole concept, this whole story you're giving us is great because it really shows that you can have two mindsets. You can be inspired from someone working hard, or you can want to shut them down, distracting. I can't say if he was jealous at all. I can't speak for that, but like you're saying, he could have looked at that and been inspired. Like you said, he could have been like, I want to be like that guy,
Mm.
and that's what I do when I see people working out harder or more dynamic, it inspires me. There's so much stagnation at the gym almost. Like you said, there's a lot of, and I don't want to bash on treadmill walkers, right? People
No,
start their journey
mhm,
somewhere and stuff, but
exactly.
there's a lot of stagnation. There's a lot of people because I see the same people every day, and I know me personally, I've each time I go to the gym, I try to do a bit heavier, and whether that's day to day or week to week. And I've seen some people do the same thing, and then I've seen some people just stay at the same point. So I think there's inspiration to be had. Like when I see there's some guys I see they run from machine to machine, and some people are like, look at these guys, and I'm like, look at him go. He's out there grinding. So I
Yeah.
think it's an important concept. Whether you take inspiration from the people working harder, or if you want to shut them down.
Yeah, I think what people don't embrace is doing hard things. Like
Yeah.
that's only where growth comes from. You got to push yourself. Virtually every day. So I'm there 5 days a week, sometimes six. I'm trying to and people don't see my improvement necessarily, right? Because it always looks like I throw a lot of punches. But there's
Yeah.
days when I'm like, man, I rocked that thing today, man. I threw a lot. Everything. I never threw less than 3 punches at a time. That's the goal, right? And I stick to it. 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combinations, pivot, move, then do
Right.
that for 3 minutes. And I'm like, there's days where I'm like, and no one walking away from that.
Yeah.
It's like I just, and I love it. And that is, I'm keyed up going to the gym. I'm like in the car, like, and
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm literally driving. I'm
I'm
like,
ready to go now. You got me
I'm
pumped up for the
yeah,
gym.
I'm doing this. It's like, man, it's just, I realize I'm a little different, but that's who I am. Right. But you can pull that out of the working out. If you're just willing to come on, just elevate the treadmill, go
Yeah.
up 1, go up 2, and just walk a little harder, pick up the pace. So my son, right, who's in the Marine Corps now.
Yeah.
So trained him a lot. So he was a real good runner, right? Cross country, did that. And half miler was his favorite. And he wanted to go to the Junior Olympics. Like, let's get him in for 800. Said, I'll train you. So I train him, right? I'm a trainer. So I trained him, got him to the Junior Olympics, right? For the 800, everything else, did that, accomplished that. And then he lets me know that I'm training him for all kinds of different stuff and getting fit. And we do workouts and he runs and we do everything. And then when he let me know he's going to, well, he was going to join the Navy. So full transparency here. Okay. So went and saw the Navy recruiter and we're talking, he wants to be a SEAL. Like, doesn't everybody?
Okay.
Greatest
Yeah.
recruiting tool for the Navy ever. Oh, Navy SEAL contract. Yeah, because that's going to happen. But they get them in, right? And next thing you know,
Right.
they're painting the ship on the outside, right?
Yep,
Because they
that's
could they
exactly what
couldn't make it.
happens.
So he's like, I want to do that. And he tells me he's getting this Eagle Scout. He having the Eagle Scout, or not, yeah, the Eagle Scout ceremony. So we go to lunch, just him and I in the car, and he's like, Dad, I got something I got to tell you. I'm like, oh man, something's gonna drop it. He goes,
Right.
I want to go in. I want to be a SEAL. I'm like, oh, well, do you know what that requires, right?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And he goes, and I need you to train me. Only you can train me.
Well,
And
that's
I'm like,
beautiful. That's
okay. I'm like, that's cool. Okay, well, let's go talk to the recruiter. We'll do that. So he gets his eagle and all this stuff, and it's all cool. And then we go talk to the recruiter and he does his thing. And then the COVID stuff is kind of going on and all that
mm,
stuff too. He's like, well, I'm like, he goes, well, I'm not getting a shot, man. I'm not getting any of that stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, they're gonna make it. So he's really upset. Now it's not gonna happen. I mean, really, really upset. Like not
yeah.
talking to anyone, broke some furniture in his room. He's angry. Okay. He's like, that's what he wanted to do. I didn't know this. My daughter told me, like, he's talking about this for a couple of years. Like, well, he has? Like, he never mentioned it to me. He's a very
Right.
quiet kid. So when we were coming out of the Navy recruiter, of course, the Marine Corps up front, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this guy stands out and there's a sergeant. He's like, hey, how you doing? So I talked to him. Oh, Sergeant Vines, how you doing? And we're talking to him and he said, hey man, if you ever want to talk, so I got his card. I'm like, listen, I'm not just because I was a Marine, my son doesn't have to be a Marine. Whatever he wants to do, he's going to do.
Yeah.
So after a couple of weeks of that stewing, he's like, Dad, because the Marine said, hey, we don't require that. You got a waiver, you get out of the COVID stuff. And he goes, I'm not done with this. Let's go talk to the Marines. I'm like, okay. And guess who's now a Marine? Right. So he started that thing. He does everything he does. He had to do. So we homeschool, right? So standardized testing is not something we do,
Yeah.
right? So my kids aren't test takers. They're critical thinkers
Mm,
and they're learners, right? They're
yeah.
very smart, very well-rounded, everything else. So he does the ASVAB practice test and he gets like a 16, right? It's really low. For those
That
who don't know,
ASVAB
like,
is we could
okay,
have an
yeah,
episode on
right, right.
just the ASVAB alone. It's not a it is a very faulty, flawed
Right.
test,
There's
but
good things about it and really bad things.
yeah.
So Sergeant Vines, just awesome recruiter, right? And he's like, well, I'll do whatever you need to do, man. You want to come do a practice test every day? We'll get it up for you. So I said, yeah. And I'm also a big fan of coaching. So I'm going to give him a tutor. So
Yeah.
we get a tutor a month later, 89.
Nice.
Okay. Cause he doesn't do standardized testing. So he got that all good. So now we guess like he's going to go in. We had about 7 months before he's going in. Right. So he's going through the process. So we started training before we even talked to him. So we are doing 3 days for 7 months straight. Okay. 6 a.m. We're in the gym doing conditioning, doing my body weight conditioning stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Crushing with that. Half-hour break to get home and he runs 6 to 10 miles of hills.
Whew.
Okay. And then the afternoon we're in the pool. He does an hour in the pool, all the pool. So I took all the recon requirements for Navy or Marine Corps recon, 500-meter swim in the camis. Okay, all the underwater stuff and everything. So we hit all their selection stuff, so he could do it all.
Going through boot
From
camp before he gets to boot camp.
oh man, boot camp. Boot camp's gonna be recovery. Okay, we're doing 3 a days. I mean, I have an obstacle course at home, 20-foot rope climbs into the trees. We're carrying giant logs. I get them carrying logs, running with 35-pound med balls, doing just
Yeah.
endless 60-yard bear crawls. Right. So we do the whole thing. And yeah, he goes in, he's, perfect PFT, the whole deal. So
Yeah.
really cool. So he goes into boot. Yeah, he's number one. It's a piece of cake. He's like, it's easy. That wasn't hard, but now he's at MSG school. He's at Quantico and he's going to be probably shipping off to Africa and stuff, but really done well there. But that training, that discipline he has, he won't quit. So he also wanted the box before that. So I'm like, well, you tell your mother. I try to get him to do jujitsu. Let's do this. No, I got a box. I'm like, oh, my wife's like, that's your influence. I'm like, I didn't tell him to box. I want him to do something else. So
I didn't
but
I had nothing
he,
to do with this.
but if
Yeah.
we're gonna train, we're gonna train. He started boxing, did really well, tough, unbelievably tough, and he's like 150 pounds, just ripped, but he's just tough. So they needed boxing. He did all that, right? And then we trained all this stuff. So he's just kind of a stud. But he's been through it, man. So it's pretty awesome to see. But that opportunity to train him, again, taking my skills and everything else I learned, be able to give it to my son. All my kids kind of work out, kind of all into the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And just to be able to do that for him, to help him, because he's going to go MARSOC. He wants to go MARSOC. That's his goal.
Mm.
So he's MSG, which is Marine Security Guard. So embassy guarding and hunting terrorists and all that stuff. 2 years
Yeah.
in and a corporal, he can then apply for MARSOC. So his ultimate goal is to get to MARSOC, and he'll do it. He's a big time goal achiever. So I'm excited to watch the path. It's been pretty cool.
Well, and tying that into what we were talking about before with the gym, about inspiration and stuff, I think also people are just too comfortable where they are. I
Mhm.
think, especially in the gym, it's a public place. We joked that I was a gym introvert. I think a lot of people worry too much about their comfortability level and what other people think about them.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I've definitely seen some people at the gym just doing their thing, and it's awesome. I mean, they can say it's a no judgment zone, right? Wherever you go in life, there's going to be people who don't like you, and you could be like Mr. Walsh here. You could have that drive. You could be throwing all these punches, doing great stuff, and people are just gonna there's always look, you're always gonna have enemies. You're always gonna have someone who doesn't like you, right? I was thinking about this. I said, even if you're the nicest old lady, you bake the best food or whatever, one time on the road, and you're gonna have an enemy. Not saying old women can't drive. I'm just saying no matter where you go, you're gonna make an enemy. It's just the inevitability of it. So I think just the takeaway would be train how you want to train, respectfully, right? I'm not saying be disrespectful about it, right? Or there is a level of is the distraction that you're causing necessary for your training, right?
Right.
For example, with Mr. Walsh, what he's doing is perfectly fine. And there's more distracting things in the gym. There are those guys who get the ropes and they're like, smacking
I
the
do that
ropes
too.
and
I do that too.
I already knew you did it. I already knew you were that guy.
And I
I
don't
think
do
we
like
all knew that.
I don't do like a round or two. I do 21 30-second rounds with a 30-second break, right? And I'm doing, I mean, yeah, people, and it's loud. I mean, the
Oh yeah.
ropes. I mean, I'm just they're banging everything else. But I always found the no judgment zone funny. I go, isn't that judging? How can you tell me not to do something? Isn't that judgment? So the whole concept, of the no,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's total judgment itself. But you're right. I think
Yeah.
it all has to fit what you're doing, right? If I'm riding a bicycle, I'm probably not going to be screaming, okay, but I'm going to be going hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to have music and I'm going to be pedaling. I'll be sweating. There'll be some grunt. If it's me, there's going to be some grunts because I'll be
Yeah.
going up a hill and putting in effort, and that's what it takes for me. And just like the breathing, when I box, there's a way I breathe. I exhale when I hit, so
All
you
right.
hear the breathing too. So the whole thing is, you know. But what I always like to say is, unless there's an issue, then who wants to be my friend? That'll be everybody, right? When someone needs protecting, one guy,
Yeah.
one kid asked me one time, he goes, "Are you like training for a fight? Are you like a?" I go, "No, just staying dangerous." And I walked away, and he's just like, "Oh." I'll go,
Yeah.
"Well, we have to though, right? I'm a dangerous
Yeah.
gentleman.
What?
I have a lot of skills, but I have them under control."
Well, I like to say my favorite quote is it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a
Mhm.
gardener in war. I think that quote is a perfect summary of what a man should be, so. But I was gonna say there's actually a machine at Planet Fitness. It's a it's an ab workout machine, and you pull it up with your abs, and it makes this very loud sliding noise. It's the loudest machine in there, and I remember it's in the ab and the glutes room, right? So it's always packed with women taking their videos and doing stuff. And
Right.
they at first it was like every time I do it, everyone just turns and looks. And then some people get upset. And I just look, I'm doing my ab workout. I've gotten to the point I don't care. Like we're at a gym. I'm not here to maintain the peace of quiet. There's people reading on their Kindle and stuff, and they're upset because
Mhm.
they're trying to read. I'm like, look,
You're
you're
at the gym.
you're
You're
at the
at the
gym.
gym.
I'm dead serious. There was people there were guys who had brought their girlfriends or wives, and their wives were just reading while the guy worked out. The women weren't. It's not like they were reading between reps. I've seen some
Right.
jack guys. They've got a book in one hand and reps in the other. That's pretty cool. But I'm not. Look, if you want to read or watch your show or whatever, like you can do that at home. This is the gym. I came to dedicate my time to doing this. So
And that's why I did the boot camp style training. You have
yeah,
35 minutes.
no
You
room
ain't
for
talk, you're not talking, you're not reading, there's none of that. Okay. It's hardcore. And then there's no shower. Get out. Go home and change.
yeah.
Okay. We have one bathroom. You can use that. There's no showers. You come, you work out, and they love it. And they would all come 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, no
Yeah.
weekends, and they get those killer 35-minute workouts and they got results and it was just awesome. So there's always a place. So and I love the energy of the gym. I have heavy bag, speed bag, double end bag, mats, everything in the garage. I have the full gym, battle ropes, I got everything. Pull-up bars. I have everything. I can work out at home if I want. And I used to, but now I don't because I want the energy. I want the
Yeah.
experience to go there and have that. And for me, that's really good. But I also could train my kids at home. I could teach them the skills. They've all learned how to box, right? They all can throw punches. I said, you don't have to get in the ring, but if you can throw straight punches, you're going to beat 98% of all people,
Yeah.
male or female,
Yeah.
because no one's been punched in the face. And your first shot lands square in the nose, they're not going to know what happened. You
Yeah.
follow that with a right hand and a hook, and it's good night, Irene. Okay, just have the skills, have the confidence, but I also tell them always, you never mess with anybody because you don't know what they know. We don't start anything, but we are serious finishers. Okay, I
Yeah.
will put you. I will put you to sleep.
No, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of people who think just because a person is short or skinny or whatever that they don't know how to fight. And I watch all these martial arts videos and stuff, and I will never try to guess someone's fighting power based on how they look because
Oh,
you never know what they know. Like you said, I think that's a very important lesson. And I
right.
think a lot of big guys get this ego, no one can take me down. And I've seen plenty of big guys get humbled. And it's funny. Me and my buddy got into an argument with a guy on my ship because he was, tall. He was like 6'2", 6'4", and he was like, "A big guy will always win. The heavier guy will always win." And we're talking about UFC and all this other stuff, and we're like, "Listen, like that's not how that works. You
Right.
never underestimate anyone."
You're
Uh,
not going to win when you can't walk. When I take your
yeah,
knees out, okay, you're not
exactly.
going to beat me. I don't just have one set of skills. I
Yeah,
had a guy
and
back in the boxing days when they had the USFL way back, probably before you were born, but
yeah,
they had, they tried to do that. So, and I was in Scottsdale, so Phoenix area, so the Cardinals at the time, big guy, big dude, lineman came to one of the box, right? And I'm like 6'2", and I was like 205 pounds, right? Super heavyweight. And he gets in, he goes, I want to learn to box and everything else. So my roommate and trainer, another Marine, right? Both Marines, both boxers. He's like, well, you can spar with Richard. He goes, oh, he's kind of small, isn't he? He goes, oh, he'll be okay. So this guy gets between the ropes, and we start out, the first round is they go bananas. Just trying to not, he's swinging, it can't lay a glove on me.
yeah, of course.
I'm just slipping, I'm moving around, right? Dance around. He can't, and now he's just sucking wind, right? No gas. Okay. This is a professional football player, but this is not professional football. This is
Yeah,
boxing. So he goes, okay, thanks. And he's trying to get out of the ring. So Doug, my my trainer, roommate, he goes, oh man, you got one more in you, man. Come on. You're gonna be okay. Let's stay here. And it's
yeah,
like ding ding. It's like, here we go. And I just came in. He can barely keep his hands up, and I'm pop, pop. And then I'm like, I'm not gonna knock him out. I'm gonna
yeah,
stop him to the body. I goes, it's so humiliating when you get stopped to the body.
yeah,
Get knocked out, that can be kind of cool if you're on the receiving end, right? I've been knocked out, people are knocked out, right? But I have an amazing left hook to the body. I compress that liver, and I know this, don't think I'm a nut. I land that left hook to the body. You just hear this, boom, and they take a step back and they look at you, and all of a sudden they go, and they can't breathe. It shuts everything down, and you fall on the ground. You flop like a fish, okay, for like 10 seconds. Then you're perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm pop pop, and I'm working them.
humbling.
We get about 2 minutes in. I'm like, boom, and that thing lands. You could hear it across the gym, and everyone knows that sound.
Yeah.
Boom, and he takes that step back. But there's this 275-pound guy like flopping on the floor. And I'm like, oh, good. I just stepped out of the ring, went over and started hitting the bag. He never
Yeah.
came back. He never came back. But
Yeah.
you gotta be careful, right? You gotta people
Yeah.
know things, when you try something new, just understand you're gonna be awful at it in the beginning.
For sure, for sure. Now, Mr. Walsh, we're definitely going to have you back on for a military dedicated episode,
Awesome.
aka funny stories from your time in the Marines. I'm sure you got a couple of those,
You got a
so,
few.
along with some serious discussion points for that. But Mr. Walsh, we'll wrap up this episode. And as we sign out here, what do you want to leave everyone with?
Do hard things. That's been our theme, I think, here, man. Just
Yeah.
just gotta push yourself. And push yourself doesn't mean you have to go kill yourself. Just know that do something different, man. Break up your day, break up your life. Go get a challenge. I don't care if it's a 5K run, climb a mountain, do something that's difficult, whether it's physical or even mental.
Yeah.
If you haven't read a book in 5 years, read a book. That's going to be a hard
Yeah.
thing for you.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. So this isn't all about physical. This is about like mentally challenge yourself. Do the difficult things. Figure some new stuff out, man. I don't know. I think that's my big takeaway I want to give people. Just you can do a lot more than you're doing and a lot more than you think you could do. Just
Yeah.
put yourself in the situation and you'll find out.
For sure. And by doing so, each day you will sharpen your spear. A nod to Sharpen the Spear Coaching by
Yeah.
Richard Walsh. Again, links in description below so you can check out more of him. But Mr. Walsh, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a much more humorous time than I had planned, and that's always a great thing. So I really appreciate everything you've shared with us today.
Well, Mr. Whiskey, you are the man. You are a great host. I appreciate you brought the humor out. I'm glad we get to have a good time and share some stories and hit some hot topics.
Sailing through the ocean blue, nuclear reactors my crew, guiding the ship, the stars as our guide, through the waves we ride, jokes and laughter fill the air. On this voyage we have to share, working together, side by side, as one family we will abide. In the heart of the ship we reside, nuclear operators with pride, powering the vessel with every stride. Our mission, a source of great pride.